Welcome to the Social Mission Revolution. Each week we explore some of the greatest undertold stories of businesses and everyday people who are making their ultimate impact on the world through social mission. This is Social Mission Revolution, and this is your host, Andrea Putting. My guest today on Social Mission Revolution is Angie Clucas, and I had the pleasure of hearing Angie speak earlier this year before the whole world went crazy. So there wasn't too many events to hear people speak, but I managed to hear Angie speak, and I really wanted to share her story on the Social Mission Revolution because I think it's a really important one for us to share and to hear and to see how we can make a difference in the world. So, Angie, welcome to the Social Mission Revolution.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
So, Angie, I like to start with this really difficult question of if there was just one thing for you to fight for, what would that be?
To show young people that there's other ways to get through being bullied and other than suicide. Suicide's not the answer, and being able to help them and give them somebody to talk to make them realise that you can be bullied throughout your life and come out the other side and become a better person because of the experiences you've had during your schooling life from being bullied. Because it makes you grow up so much quicker internally because you deal with issues that are things that you wouldn't normally deal with until you're much older. And there is a way to get through it.
Yeah, it's an important message, really is. And I know that is a part of your message. And there's two things I'd love to explore with you on this, because I know that this is part of your story, but I also know that there's another story that really inspired you to stand up and make your stand and go onto this path that you're on now. So let's just start with your story. What is your story with bullying?
Well, I was born with something called Russell-Silver syndrome, which is a form of dwarfism, and therefore I had a bit of a rough start to life. I wasn't getting food before I was born. And when I was born, I was only 2 pounds 6, and part of the condition I've got is food's sort of not really a priority. It's more an annoying thing than something you enjoy. So therefore, it took a lot of hours for my parents to get enough food into me because I just wasn't interested in it. So therefore, by the time I started school, I was probably about the height of a 2 or 3 year old. And so therefore I was different to other kids, and kids hadn't seen people like me before. So I was a new toy to them.
Yeah, it would have been a really difficult thing for you to deal with. I mean, of course, that was your life. You didn't know any different, but being seen as different as a child at school would be really hard.
Yeah, because before I started school, like I grew up in a house where my parents treated me like my brother and sister. So
Yeah.
I was just normal. And if I couldn't do something, then I was brought up by my parents to not make excuses. Like my mum used to say, there's no such word as can't. Try and find a way to sort it, to have a crack at it, you know, like. So yeah, so it's kind of stuck, and yeah, there's no such word as can't. Like if you want to make something happen, and if you want to get through something, then you have to find a different way to deal with whatever the obstacle is in front of you, whether it's a physical obstacle or a mental obstacle.
And I think that's the case of life, is that our parents usually treat each of the children the same, whether they have whoever they are, whatever they turn out. You know, generally your children are the same. So it's when you go out into the world and someone suddenly treats you as being different. Would have been a struggle.
It was a bit of a wake-up call, that's for sure. And once I started school, it was probably the first time where I didn't have my mum around to like go, like, how do I do that? Or like, until, as young kids, until you find a way yourself to deal with it, then you rely on your parents. And when you start school, then your parents aren't there for 6 or 7 hours of the day, which is a new experience as well. So I went from, having to start to learn to do, dealing with being bullied or pushed around, or people pointing and laughing at me on my own, and without having that security around me, as in, not that mum and dad wrapped me up in a cotton ball or nothing, but they were always there in the background to help me out when it got out of control, you know. But once you get to school, it's like, well, yeah, you've got to start dealing with stuff yourself, and not have. There's not always an adult around to see what's going on.
And how did you get through that time? Through, I can imagine it would have been through most of your school life.
Yeah, it was pretty tough. I had to learn pretty quickly that work out like what was going to happen next, so that I could sort of preempt stuff and work out how I was going to deal with it. Like even at school, you know, like I can remember that on the first day of school, the teacher put my bag on the hook because I couldn't reach it and didn't think anything of it. And then when it came to recess, I couldn't reach the bag. And I'm looking around and I didn't know any of the kids in the class, so it was like there was nobody to ask. The teacher had gone, and I had to try and find a way to get my lunchbox out of my bag. So I came to the conclusion that, yeah, so I was able to open the classroom and get a chair. I knew I didn't have to, like I worked out I didn't have to take the bag off the hook. If I just undid the zip, I could get my lunchbox out. And then when it came to lunchtime, and by the time I'd done that, it was over, you know, recess was over. And then by lunchtime, it was like, okay, I'm not going to let that teacher out of my sight. Like, I'm going to stick next to that teacher so that teacher can get my lunchbox out, because I'm really hungry now. I need to eat some food. and and you had to start preempting stuff, you know. So like whenever the school bell rang for recess or lunch, it was the best time at school for everybody, and but it was the worst time at school for me, because that's once you go out of the classroom into the playground, it's a whole new world out there.
Yeah. It sounds like you would have had to become very strategic about what you did and how you did it and where you went and things like that. You would have really had to have thought things through very carefully.
Yeah, like once you made a mistake, you worked out very quickly that you didn't do that again. And you needed to learn that, okay, well, I can't do that, you know, like I couldn't play on the play equipment because I was too small for it, like the monkey bars, like all that kind of stuff, you know. Like, there was no way in the world I'd even get close to it. And even just to swing on the swings were too high. I couldn't do it. I couldn't get on the swing.
Yeah.
So you worked out that, well, you didn't go and do those things, because if you did, the kids would just laugh at you and you'd become their source of entertainment.
Now, I know from your story there was something that happened many years later, just a few years ago now, that really sparked something inside you to start making a stand. Would you like to share that?
Yeah, a couple of years ago, there's a 14-year-old girl in Catherine called Dolly Everett. She was being bullied online. Like, I don't know this girl personally, but and she ended up taking her own life. Now, as a child, she was the face of a Kubla hat, and then at the age of 14, she couldn't take it anymore, and she had dinner with her parents and sister, and yeah, that was the last meal she had. And it just struck a nerve with me. It was just like, this is just such a waste of a child's life, you know, like, and I felt like I needed to do something to help these young people get through the bullying years, to show them that there is life through the other side of being bullied, and the best way to deal with a bully is to create the best version of yourself possible and prove the bullies wrong, that you're not a waste of space and you can make something of your life. Taking your life as the bully wins. It's just a no-win all around. And there's way too many families that are dealing with these tragedies that aren't necessary if these kids have the right person to talk to and learn who that right person is, you know, just having some. And I thought, maybe if I can become a mentor or just show them that if I can do it, like I'm now the manager of a museum, which is one of the main tourist attractions in Darwin. So if I can do it, then these kids hopefully can see that they can do it too.
Yeah, and that's a tremendous thing that you've taken on, is to stand up and say that, hey, you can get through this.
Yeah.
Because it brings back to you those memories of those experiences that you've went through. So you're bringing those all back by sharing with them as well.
Yeah, that's right. And that was one of the hardest parts about writing my book, Standing Tall from the Inside, is the fact that I have had to go back and go through those experiences again where I kind of put up a block and just kept looking forward and not go back deep into those experiences. And that was, that was pretty tough too, to do that. Because you do tend to put a block wall around you to a degree, so that you can cope with what's happening to you on a daily basis when you walk out the front door every day. And you do that so you can survive. It's the survival instinct in you that makes you create that. But through the process of writing this book, I've realised at some point you've got to let those walls back down again. And when Dolly took her life, I decided that, maybe I've got something to offer, and if I can stop another child or an adult taking their own life because they don't think they can get through whatever they're dealing with at that point in time, then it's worth it, because it's only a point in time in their life. It's not going to last forever.
Yeah, I think if you just save one person's life, then the whole journey is worthwhile, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Like I had a child in Queensland who didn't want to go to school, and I made a video, and his mum showed him that video, and the very next day he got up and he was the first one ready to go to school and feed his sisters, and his mum was just blown away, and he then went on to become a school captain. He's doing cadets now, and he's a totally different student because of watching that video and seeing that, there is light at the end of the tunnel, and it's up to me to change my mindset, because if you let the bullies win, then all you're doing is closing your own world down.
So how does that feel, knowing that when you hear stories like that? That
was pretty special to me, because that really made me realise that, maybe I can make a difference, like I wrote a chapter in a book, Resilience book, and I sent it to him for his birthday, and his mum videoed it, like he was almost crying just when he read the word resilient, and that's what it is. Like, it's just finding a way, because an issue is only as bad as what you think it is in your head, not what the rest of the world sees. It's as it builds up and explodes in your head, that's what does the damage. But if you can control that and control the outside world to a degree that you're able to put some space between you and the issue that you're facing, then that gives you a chance to clear your head and think about who you can talk to, or how you can deal with it. But if you do it on reaction and impulse, that's when your life spirals out of control in a negative way.
Yeah. So, what is some of the advice that you give to people, to young people who are being bullied?
Firstly, I just tell them that they're not the only ones. That it's a lot more common than they think it is.
Mm-hmm.
And if you, before you even get to the stage where you're being bullied or you have an issue, if you're able to sit down and write up a plan or a set of values, so when issues come up, then you've got this sheet of paper or these values that you can use as a guidance. So, just for example, like if when I was a kid, people were pushing me around in a pram at school, treating me like I was a doll. Now, for me to take the power away from them, one day I decided to get my lunch and go and sit in the pram before they got to me. So then it wasn't fun for them anymore because me struggling against them was their fun. But if I went and jumped in the pram and sat in there, like the element of surprise can have a beneficial effect.
That would have been an interesting thing. I think there's a great way of combating it, because it was like, okay, push me around. And yeah, they would have been like, no, I don't want to.
Yeah. I have people like a coach will pull up at work, and instead of cowering and hiding, like I'll be the person who opens the front door to welcome a bus load of people. And like somebody will say to me, oh, you're short, or you make a good doorstop, or stuff like that. I just turn around and say, oh, thanks for your observation. And they don't expect those kind of comments. And they walk away because they don't expect it. So, but I'm still true to my own values. I'm not being nasty to them.
And they realised then that, oh, hang on a minute, maybe that was an inappropriate comment, and next time I need to watch what I say to people. I hope that that's what they go away with.
Yeah, probably my most favourite saying is, I'd be walking around in a supermarket and people would come up and point, or the kids would point fingers at me and carry on. When my daughter was little, and if I got a chance, like I'd say to the kids, do you eat the veggies? And they would go, and they just have a blank look on their faces, and I'd just say, well, look what happens if you don't eat the veggies.
And then I'm sure their parents would really appreciate you saying that to them.
But it spins the parents out. It spins the kids out. But it makes them walk away and have a conversation about what just happened.
Yes.
And I haven't been mean or nasty.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's my way of cutting them short from teasing me, but with a positive message as well, instead of me reacting in a negative way.
And does that change the way you feel about those situations when you can make them into that positive?
Yeah, like, because I know that inside me, I've not lowered myself to their standards. but I've also left them with something to think about.
Yeah.
So, and bullying is all about the element of surprise, and if you can give an element of surprise in a positive way, then you'll be amazed how people react and how people change. Because they're not used to, they're not expecting that kind of reaction.
Yeah, they're expecting you to be weak. Yeah. And you're not weak. Well, I think you're a giant. So you have recently written a book which will be released very soon. I'd really love you to just tell the audience a little bit about that, because I'm sure that it's going to make a big impact in the world.
Okay, the book's called Standing Tall from the Inside, and it's got 10 chapters in it, and each chapter has a story about an event that's happened in my life, something I've had to deal with, and then it gives you some things to think about and how to think about it. If something was similar was happening in your life, then maybe you can get some advice out of the tips that I have through the book. I use Albert Einstein. Like, he's a very funny guy. Like, he's known for his thinking ability, but he also has some pretty good, simple advice, and I've put them through the book. So I just come up with a set of values that I'm happy with and I live my life by, and if I come up against a situation, I need to reply to that situation at a standard that is aligned with my values, like, and that stops you going down that spiral thing. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, you can be by yourself in your bedroom or whatever, and you can just look at them and go, "Oh, what happened today? Yeah, no, I was a bit nasty, or that's not who I really am inside. So when this happens again, I need to find a way to deal with it differently." So it kind of gives you that sort of guidance to reflect on at the end of the day, and just go, well, yeah, I did the right thing, or no, I could have dealt with that a little bit better, and that's how I keep trying to improve myself to be the best version of myself. Like, it's an ongoing process. Like, nobody's born perfect, and I believe that everybody's dealt with the cards they're dealt with in life, because somewhere deep inside them they are able to deal with them. And dealing with bullying or any issue in life, really, you just got to take one little lesson or one little piece of advice out of each thing that happens to you, and build your own rules and okay, well, I can improve myself now because this happened to me. Take a positive out of every event and every issue that happens to you, and you'll start to see a consistency on what's happening. And if you if you work on yourself from the inside, then others around you will see that over time. And you can change other people one at a time just because they can see you growing and dealing with like issues that you're dealing with. And people will say, oh, well, if Angie can do that, well, there's no reason why I can't do that. And hopefully that's what I'm trying to achieve, to say that, yeah. And you don't have to take big steps, they're all little steps, like, and each little step creates momentum to become the best version of yourself. And it's not going to be positive every day, and you shouldn't expect it to, but as long as you can take one small lesson out of each thing, good or bad, out of your day, then you're growing as a person.
Sounds like it's going to be a great book to read and to learn from, and that you've got lots of great advice there, and I'm looking forward to reading your book.
Thank you.
Yeah, because it's, just taking that one day and putting the positive spin on things, and how can I deal with that better, is really good advice for people to look at. And especially if they have been through that bullying situation, which sadly I think most people at some stage in their life have experienced that. And I've experienced it myself, and it's a hard place to be.
Yeah. But yeah, you just need to, even if you write it down somewhere that you see every day, like, this is just a step in time, It's only one small element of your whole life.
Yes.
It's not the end of the world, and you will get through it. And there are ways to get through it.
Yeah. Yeah, and either we can cower under it and hide away from it, or we can use it as a stepping stone into something else, into the next, take us to a high level.
Yeah, like when I moved from New Zealand to an Aboriginal community in Arnhem Land called Owen Valley, and I went there because I needed to learn who I was and grow as a person myself. I wasn't that little girl anymore. I'm an adult now. I need to find my life as an adult. And I had a diary, and I crossed every day off for the first 3 months, I think. I survived. And I just put it down to grit and determination that I'm here for a reason. Okay, I might not have found the reason on this earth yet, but I'm going to find it from within me. And it came back through there's no such word as can't. Like, I left home, left the country, and went to another country, probably in one of the most remote places in Australia.
Yes.
And yes, but like, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. You can still live in the same place, go to the same school. I grew up in a small country town, but like, and it's just starting to create the momentum. Once you start, then it becomes easier over time.
Yeah. And it sounds to me like you have found that purpose in life.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yes. So how can people get hold of your book? Where will they go to? Well, we want to pre-order at this point. It'll be out very soon.
Yeah, you can go to deanpublishing.com /standing tall.
Okay. So I will put that link with the information for the podcast. And if anyone wants to get in touch with you, what would be the best way to get in touch with you? Because you are a public speaker now and an author, so somebody might want to invite you.
You can find me on Facebook, Standing Tall from the Inside, or Angie Clucas. And you can leave me a message. I still work full time, so I'll always get back to you if I'm at work.
Fabulous. So thank you so much for talking with us today, Angie. I've really enjoyed my time together, and I know that you're making a big impact in the world with helping people to just see that there is a life after being bullied.
Thank you. And thanks for inviting me today.
Thank you. And I'll be back next time with another social mission revolutionist. Until then. This has been the Social Mission Revolution with Andrea Putting. Join me again next week when we'll speak to another social mission revolutionist who will inspire you on your journey to making your ultimate impact on the world.